the
What?
unindoctrinated one here, but I need to ask questions.
No, no, a question.
So it's so hard for us to realize we can heal ourselves because of the mindsets that are out there with the medical community and the people that we associate with. Is that the deal?
Exactly. From childhood. From childhood, we're taught just by experience, right? Nobody has to say anything. It's just by experience.
That's not the deal.
Huh?
The deal is that what she believes.
Right.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, but no, but if you accepted that in, it is your belief. Period. I mean, it is your belief, even if it came from somebody else, and that's why I talk about Adam and Eve, that whole passing of the poisonous apple. And when you're born, your parents, preachers, teachers are already automatically kind of putting in programs, and all that does is limit you and put you in a box in ways. So yeah, we're always taking on and on top of that, we're making up our own too. You know, mommy and daddy did this, and my perception of that is this, and we don't typically, or where the consciousness is changing, but it used to be parents weren't aware of their children being aware, because children are actually more tuned in than we are, because they're feeling things, and they go more by how things feel, good or bad, and then they're making up stories, and those are programs, good or bad. Yeah, Marcia?
I was just going to say I'm a prime example of that, because growing up with doctors constantly not even talking to me, but at the same time, I'm getting this message through my whole childhood that I'm paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm paralyzed.
Yeah.
But
Well,
and then I went from being raised. I'll try to talk fast. I went from being raised Catholic, which was more dominant power of my thinking, and when I broke away from that, I got into the Jesus hippie thing. Then I got into the Jesus hippie thing, and the whole healing thing, this be healed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And then you fall back.
And I'm like, okay. So it was like I had this faith that there was something to that. I don't know if anybody ever heard of Catherine Kuhlman, but I believe that she did. There was some real healing, but I never got one. And I think the fact that I didn't get one, and I was being pushed to get one, or I didn't believe, I set up a wall.
Yeah.
And that's when I met you, and I felt like you were doing the same thing, but I know you're not.
Yeah. You see, the thing that, and he goes on to talk about that is that, you know, when if you caught that in the very beginning, is it your ability to heal too. So if somebody's working, you know, after all the years I've worked on people, there's been only a handful that I had to let go of. And two of them were based on, they had really religious belief systems, and they could not get over the fact that this illness wasn't some test from God that they had to go through. And they were not going to get better, period. So I wasn't going to waste my time. And make it look at that as like being cold or whatever, but I'm not going to waste my time and energy unless they're ready to go. And sometimes it has to be where you're ready to kind of slap them awake. And even that, people don't necessarily are able to wake up.
Sometimes you can slap them till
Yeah.
I think that's all the way it works, but I get your point. I was even told when I was like 6 years old, this teacher walks up to my mother and wanted to know what was wrong with me. I had this big metal brace on my leg, and my mom told her, and I'm standing down here and looking up at her, and she says, well, you know, sometimes God gives us a special cross to bear.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it's like she was trying to make me feel special, but I'm thinking, why would God?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's just...
I wrestled with that my whole life long.
Well, people try to make sense of things, and really all that is somebody's concept of trying to make sense of why bad things happen. Well, obviously it's got to be a test from God, and it makes you special. Yeah, of course. So I'm going to go over the sphenoid bone because I'm going to go into this whole projecting idea of what we're doing with reality. And a lot of you have already seen this, but like I said, a few haven't. Hello. Oops. Control, that's it.
The human skull is made up of 8 cranial bones that surround and protect the brain, and 14 facial bones that form the underlying structure of the face and support for the teeth. With the exception of the mandible, the bones of the skull articulate with each other through joints known as sutures. Throughout the skull, holes known as foramina serve as passageways for blood vessels and nerves. Bones on the surface of the skull encase the brain, protect sensory organs, and serve as attachment sites for the muscles of the head and neck. These bones include the occipital bone, parietal bones, temporal bones, and the frontal bone, as well as the nasal bones, the zygomatic bones, the maxilla, and the mandible. Other bones become more visible only when looking inside the skull. The sphenoid.
This bone here, it's the sphenoid bone, okay? And this quite literally is the Ark of the Covenant. No pulling anybody's leg, this is the Ark of the Covenant. This little function here, these are called the lesser wings and the greater wings. So you have two wings here, two wings here. This is where the sinuses enter, the eyes are located here. So basically all the senses tie into this bone, and it's inside the head. So the Ark of the Covenant is inside of you.
Where's the hypothalamus and the pineal gland?
I'll show you from the side view. You can't see that from the front.
Sphenoid bone makes up the anterior base of the cranium. It is a butterfly-shaped bone with...
To me, it looks like an owl more than it does a butterfly. And I'm going to show you a video in a second, because your skull actually, when you breathe in, you have sacs in your skull, right? When you breathe in, the skull actually moves. Everything moves, okay? You don't see it blow up real big, but it does move.
And two pair of laterally projecting wings. These wings form portions of the orbit.
Okay. The pituitary gland, which is actually in chart related to what chakra? The sixth, this third eye, right? It's related to your third eye. Pituitary sits right down inside of that, okay? And the interesting thing about this bone is it's actually square in shape. Just like the Ark of the Covenant is said to be like this little box that, the magic is put inside. Well, that magic is your pituitary gland. Jim, the hypothalamus is more up here. Whenever we have an emotion, the hypothalamus creates a neuropeptide that goes down and tells pituitary what hormone to then send to the other endocrines, which are tied to what? Chakras. So your whole turning off and on of chakras is related to your emotions and how you perceive things.
Yeah, the interesting thing is I saw a video once of a nasal doctor that actually can go through and do, they do, a chiropractor does spinal adjustments. He goes in and he actually inflates sacs.
Oh yeah, I saw that before.
And it flexes your and pops all the joints in your sinuses.
I saw that video. It's pretty crazy.
Clears it up and really.
He sticks his balloon up into your sinus and then goes.
Inflates it. Yeah, and you hear all this.
Yeah, you hear it.
Wow. Yeah. The John of God guy sticks things up people's noses and they get.
What? What now?
You never heard of the John of God guy in Mexico?
Oh yeah.
Really?
John,
Wow.
I don't know what he's doing, but
He's
people
got a
say
big
that.
thing coming pretty soon.
Huh?
He's going to be in Sweden or someplace pretty soon. I just saw it on the internet.
I've heard of him. I don't know much about him.
Dyer says he cured him of leukemia.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
what cured leukemia? Really?
Wayne Dyer, I believe.
Right. And that got changed by what?
John of God.
Exactly. It's the perception of, the most powerful thing, the most powerful thing that you have is your perception. If you, sometimes we need outside help. It's the power that you put into the person, or the belief system you put into the person, that's going to bring about more power. So really, it's all an inside job. Everything is absolutely an inside job.
Just give people placebo.
Yeah, exactly. In John of God, what makes him more and more powerful is as his story grows, more and more people are willing to let go of that being able to heal, right? That's all it is. If you can realize that's all it is, and you can actually choose to do that by yourself, right?
The body of the sphenoid features a depression known as the sella turcica.
That's where the pituitary sets into. That's about all I wanted to share there. Now I'm going to show you the movement of that bone. So this is what, it's barely moving. And to me it looks like it's an owl in flight to me, right?
A bone that moves.
that reshapes itself.
No. When you're breathing, see, you have the sinuses. You have sinuses up here and here, okay? When you breathe in, see, the sutures of the skull are loose connections. The reason our head has got sutures, those cracks on the head that we see, the reason we have those is if our skull was like a coconut, you drop, your head's just going to break open, okay? God or divine design put those sutures in there because what those sutures do is they move. very minutely, okay, very minutely. So when you breathe in, your whole skull is expanding slightly and contracting. And actually it has a lot to do with your lymphatic system, as long as it's moving. And this is, what do we notice here with people most? What shows up here? It's emotions. Somebody blushes, it's here, and all that has to do with how we perceive and take in things. So that movement that's happening is the breath that's going in and expanding and moving. And to me it looks like an owl in flight. What were you going to say, Marcia?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, so the bone itself is kind of moving like this, but it's not expanding and contracting itself.
No. It's
But
all.
there it looks like it is.
Well, it's just showing what's happening with it, because it's like tilting, and so the bone itself is not like flapping around. You know, like thank God, you know, if I did this, if my arm bone wasn't rigid.
Because at the edge of each of those bones, there's
sutures.
a joint with
Yeah.
another set of bones, and all
So,
those bones
right.
move and flex together.
And it's not just 2D, it's 3D. So there's connections going this way, that way, up and down. So what they're trying to show is that all that movement is happening. So it's like your head is exploding and then coming back together, which is actually yang and then yin.
Expansion and contraction.
So that's that movement. Now, another factor I want to throw in, I'm just showing you this up front here. Now, here's a picture of the Ark of the Covenant that we're kind of used to, right? You know, here's the Ark of the Covenant. You see the wings and touching in the center and the wings going out. You know, I've tried to find a really accurate picture, but nobody says it like it says here in Kings in the Bible. Kings 1, verse 6:26, it says, "He placed the cherub inside the innermost room of the temple with their wings spread out. The wings of one cherub touched one wall going out, and while the wing of the other touched the other wall, and then in the middle their wings touched." So really, how these wings would be if they were proper, they'd be like this, okay? And if this was true, the Ark of the Covenant would have to be like 30 foot long and tall to do that, because however big the room is, that means the wings would have to touch the outside wall, right? But if it's the skull that it's doing, the walls of the skull are right here. So yeah, we've got wings that touch the outside wall, and we have wings that touch the inside. That is the greater and lesser wings right here. Let me bring this in a little bit. So we have the lesser wings and the greater wings right here. There's a little owl shape. It sits right in here. And another interesting thing is that this part of our head is called what? The temple. So the Ark of the Covenant is in the temple. It's right here, right? And it's doing everything that verse says. Its the outer wings are touching the outside walls of the temple. And what's interesting is, what do they usually put on the top of temples and synagogues and things like that? It's either a spike or a what? A dome, right? Well, hello, I've got a dome right here. They're mimicking that whole structure. I've got a dome, the walls of my little temple, and then the Ark of the Covenant is inside of that. That's why the Ark, if it was inside a real temple, it would be huge. You wouldn't be able to move the sucker. Because if the wings were touching the outside, it had to be at least, I was doing some measurements. Of course, there's all like 44th, that gets confusing, but even if it was the size of this room, the little temple that they go into, it would be huge. The wings would have to touch the outside, this wall and that wall. And that's what it says in the biblical verse, right?
It's basically describing a supporting structure.
Exactly. And that's what that sphenoid is, right?
Yeah.
It's a supporting structure.
It connects all the pieces of the bone of the skull together.
So y'all know how I like to play with words. So the Ark is inside the temple. We got that. That's like, okay, to me, that's a really good confirmation. And then I'm always playing with words, and there's templates that we have reality. That we inside of us, like I mentioned earlier, we have like hundreds of little templates that we've created around what we perceive life to be. Mom did this, females mean this, and these are basically templates that are located inside of our inner workings of our mind. It's hard to say exactly where, because when you start breaking the brain down, you can say this does this and this does this, but they're all reliant on different parts of the body to work together. So the pineal and the pituitary actually have to work really close together. You can't even really separate the third and the crown chakra, because they get closer and closer as you go up. So we're always projecting onto reality different templates. And the crazy thing about that is that you can imagine that this is a field of energy here. I'm like putting this vibration into the field, and what I'm sending out into the field is exactly what I'm getting back. So if I've got this limitation about my healing, like it can only happen this way, that's why I had to get rid of that one particular person, is if they have this template and you can't break it up, you can't shake it up, then they have to exactly experience what the template says in order to get the healing. Because it's written in law, just like that. It's like the tablets. So these templates, these 10 commandments, these plates that we're putting out on reality are what we're getting back. And it's all based on our intellect. And if you break down the word intellect, it's what we're telling ourselves internally. Intel. Yeah.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand this when you use the human model.
Right.
But what about when you go to the dogs? You know, the pets. What creates the healing in them? Are they really changing perception? I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah, I think so. And see, everything has this basic structure. So dogs and most animals have that particular sphenoid bone in there. But the thing about animals is they play off of the human consciousness too. A lot of times the animal will be the default for a lot of the stress and the pain in the group. So and the cool thing about animals is there's a limited amount of consciousness. Why it's easier for animals to heal is because they have less templates, period.
Right.
When you have all these templates, mommy, daddy did this to me, blah, blah, blah.
Don't you kind of see them as kind of like little sponges?
Exactly, yeah.
For their owners?
Right.
And a lot of times you see owners, when you have an owner come in, and because I work in a similar field, I see this a lot. You see owners come in with dogs having major depression issues or major anxiety issues, and it's the exact same thing that the owner has, but the owner can't see that in themselves.
Right.
And so they transfer it to the patient.
And basically the animals are a blow-off valve for that, as are a lot of other things in our reality. Children, another thing. If you can't keep your emotions in check, the children are going to absorb it. That's how the poisonous apple gets transferred like that. Is, our parents didn't mean to, but most of the things we get are non-verbal, not verbal. We don't sit there and go, this is how reality is. No, they pick it up by experience. So animals do that also. Their healing is quicker simply because they don't have as many templates, and they don't sit there and contemplate things like we do. I mean, if we could lay around all day and just be cool, we'd probably heal a lot quicker, really. Yeah, Deborah?
I think it's her perception of the healing for the dog. I think that's what helps the little ones, the creatures heal, is our thoughts of their health. I think that's another thing that when Jesus did, he saw the person whole, and I think if you see
the dog whole.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my perception.
Mm-hmm. And how that, so it's also a two-way street though. If I'm trying to do something with her and she's projecting a particular belief system or template, I can interact with her belief system or template, and we're going to do this in class. I can interact with her template just like we do with the tapping. I'm interacting with the template, period. That's what's going on. But her ability to adapt to that and work with me and play with me like a co-creative thing is the level of what she'll get, because she's coming from a particular perspective, I'm coming from a particular perspective, and it's how we change that to what degree. So, but it can be all the way from breast tumor to no breast tumor. But we typically have to hopscotch because we're working with this system and we take a little bit of piece down. It's like we break a piece of the template off, but there's still some of it projecting out. You know what I mean? And the deeper we go, we're going to have to be a little more forceful to go in there and really break it up. Because some of this little patty stuff we do is not enough. Because we really have to shake things up. And people that are really going to change in the world are the ones that have enough guts, balls, to go to places that they don't want to go. Because those templates actually keep you from going certain places. That's why I brought in the whole thyroid thing. You got a thyroid issue, you don't have the energy to do exactly what you need to do, so you're stuck. It's a perfect template. You're stuck in the reality and you're projecting it. So you got to go in there and beat those things up. And those people don't like that to begin with. If you try to take something away, even if it's a negative type of blanket, it's still something homeostasis. And the body will hold on to negative homeostasis just as much as positive. It's the resistance to change because of template. So if you've got a strong belief system, that's a template. If somebody comes along, like if you're trying to convert or talking to a Christian about their belief system versus your belief system, that brick wall you're hitting is their template. And when you challenge somebody's template, they get pissed. Okay? And that's what actually has to come up in this group to go to the next level, is we cannot pussyfoot around and play. We have to be willing to go and do the deep stuff that breaks up these things. And if you're not going to get very far, because those are the things that need to go. Okay, so intel. The thing, the intellect that we carry is what we're projecting down into ourselves and what we're projecting out into reality. Your level of intelligence is the level of awareness of those templates that you carry. Okay? Everybody has a different amount of intelligence, right? Your awareness to be able to work with those templates and change them and choose a different way. That's going to determine how much intelligence you have at any given moment. And the thing about that is sometimes you'll be walking along and you started the day in a good mood, somebody pushes a trigger on you, that template comes up. Now you're viewing the entire world through that template, and you can only experience back from the world because it's a filter going this way and it's a filter going that way. So if you're trying to heal and that template's up and healing needs to come through, but only part of it can come through, that's all you're going to get. Okay? So ultimately, we have to break the templates up. The class that I've put together, Your Body, Your Friend, is showing you what the templates are. All I'm going to be showing you is how to find out what the templates are. That's what the information is coming back from the computer screen. The computer screen is what? What part of the body? Perfect. I didn't want to give the word. So the computer screen is the body, right? It's what shows up. But it goes off the templates, which are on the consciousness, right? And we interact with that through the keyboard. And tapping on the different meridian points, working with the chakras is everything related to the keyboard. Okay? We got to really get some guts to go deeper into some of these aspects to get free.
Okay, I have a couple.
Sure.
So for one thing, we've talked about before and used the word echo as like
yeah, and I love that word. Mary Ellen mentioned that.
Yeah, that was.
Mm-hmm.
But echo as opposed to
it's a gold star.
as opposed to reflection, which is the word I've used in the past. But it's like everything around us is an echo.
Yeah.
And the animals and even the earth and the water and everything is an echo, either at different levels.
Totally.
But like I wanted to ask, like intelligence, like a person could take that as meaning smart. It doesn't mean exactly how smart.
No.
Can you? Is it just information?
Yeah. I'm glad you asked that. Yeah. Intellect is basically what I'm calling your amount of awareness. Okay, and it does have to do. It does a little bit with It depends on there's different types of intelligence. Okay, the one I'm talking about in this particular instance is simply awareness. So some of that's based in what you've read, what you've experienced, what you've seen, but it's just basically how aware are you. So if you're going along your day and then a template gets boom up here and you're operating from that, you've dropped out of your intelligence because all of a sudden that template is up and you're limited to what you're putting out and what you can experience back in. So ultimately, intelligence is the key to getting past that. The awareness you've got to have, this is what the problem is and now I can solve it. So if you got this shoulder issue here related to females happening, left side female, shoulders responsibility, and now it's due to get a surgery, that's feedback. That's feedback. That's on the screen telling you what's inside of here. If you can clear the issue, if you can get rid of that template, then this can heal. It can be that breast tumor that disappears in 30 seconds. That's where I am trying to take myself. Okay, and that's my focus of the class is having that healing. And I know it's going to start happening. It's already starting to creep in lots of cool little ways. And I'm seeing this in lots of different streams of information. Okay, so we're on the path to that. So the intel, your level of intellect is what you're always saying inside your head. That's your intellect, okay? Your intelligence is to be aware of what you're telling yourself. So intelligence is what are you telling yourself? So if you're going along and all of a sudden something pushes your trigger and all of a sudden you say, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? You better be damn sure ready to catch that intel because that intel is then projecting from that sphenoid down into the body, telling the cells how to react through the hypothalamus pituitary, and it's projecting out into the world, telling the world how to react to you.
And it's excreting hormones.
Yeah, that's the hypothalamus pituitary thing.
Right. So to be waking up and being in the intellect and trying not to go back to sleep.
Exactly. And that's what the gift of Buddha was brought in, right? Buddha was all about being aware. That's the whole thing about meditation. But ultimately, meditation has to be your everyday 24/7 walk of life. You have to be in awareness all the time, not just here and there. So sitting and meditating is a practice that helps you be more aware, but just sitting and meditating doesn't do the trick. If meditation doesn't become your natural state of being, then you're not there. You have to keep working on that. And then what happens is, because ideally, soon as you move into a template, you got to be ready to catch it. Because once you go into a template, you can be there for hours, you can be there for days, and you can be there for weeks, months. It just depends on what's going on. Because once that template comes up, especially if it's really strong, and the key to it is highly charged emotion. If something makes you pissed off, that's a template. You better start paying attention to what you are projecting out and what you're filtering back as an experience. Because if you've got a limit to, let's say that, and I was talking to somebody today, I was over at their house, and some of them started coming to me, and I started drawing these pictures and things. She's got an issue with her mother, okay? And she's got this resentment because her mother was never there for her. She was caught up in her own thing. And now she has this issue with food, okay? In particular, it has to do with dairy and it has to do with sugar, which comes from breast tissue. Like sugary milk, the mannitose, which is in breast milk, actually gives you a part of your immune system. So an allergy is actually a weakness in the immune system. So her issue with her mother is showing up in her physical body, the screen, as an allergy to these things. That is basically telling her that, hey, the real issue is with your mom. You drop that, you can actually have that. Because mother... What do we get from mother that we don't get from father as much? What is the mother's role?
Nurture.
Nurture. Okay. What do we get from Mother Earth?
Nature.
Nourishment, nutrition. Aren't those words similar? Nutrition, nurturing. They're very similar. So if you've got an issue with mother, you've got an issue with the nurturing that comes from, the nutrition that comes from Mother Earth. Period. That's the feedback. That's how direct it is. I'm just convinced of that now. So I was there drawing all these pictures and letting them, because I was trying to work past some of her templates. It's like, I told her some of this stuff before, but she just can't get it. So I had to be really forceful and draw the whole thing out. And, she's acting like she's 10-year-old. So her template comes up and she's a 10-year-old that issue is playing off of. And then what happens is she begins to not only project that onto her mother when she talks to her mother, but she does it to her husband. I'm not getting nurtured, I'm not getting this. And he could be giving her everything that she needs, but she will not see it because it's being filtered. Take that filter away, she gets to receive it. You see what I'm saying? Because we limit what we get, period. And if you've got a belief system and you're projecting it out, you cannot have it back. It's just the way it is. And life is going to keep kicking you in the willy until you go, okay, I think I'm ready to finally get rid of this. That's all it's about. The negative that we're experiencing, say, hey, this is what the negative is saying. You've got this template. That's all it is. The problems we're seeing in the whole global, that means we're tied into the collective that way. So we got to be working also not on our own little templates, but also we play into the collective. But ultimately, you got to work on your own.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
The thing for me that finally turned was me taking responsibility instead of blaming the other person for my situation.
Right.
That's when mine changed.
Mhm.
That's when mine changed, is whenever I went to Al-Anon and was trying to get the drunk fixed,
Mhm.
and they said, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What about you? What are you doing? Don't talk about that. And I'm like, dang,
Yeah.
maybe it is me.
And the thing about that is it's not typically just one area. It creeps up in lots of different ways. And we don't have just a little bit of programming. We got a crap load, right? The cool thing is once you tend to start breaking some up, they all tend to relate in certain veins. So you may have 10 related to nurturing and mother, and once you start getting rid of one, you start cracking them all, right? But it still doesn't mean that you can't have one come up and then blindside you. What are you going to say?
Well, it just came to me, and this may be obvious to others, but when you ask what does nature, the earth,
Right.
and I think of her support, but that's usually masculine. So it's like, to me, maybe the inner support, the strength of
Yeah.
within,
Right.
knowing within, and then the masculine being more the support outside.
Exactly. That's a
So
good
if we're
point.
strong within
Mhm.
ourselves, then we have that core strength, that all that other stuff.
See, and mother, that is part of mother's job, is to give us a foundation, emotional foundation. And then what happens is the masculine is like the walls that support that and protect that. And it's awesome how things are just so many mirrored and reflective. Like if I went up into a ball like this, okay, all the meridians related to female are inside that ball. And all the meridians related to male are outside. It tells you right there what the roles are. The feminine is to be protective. It holds the seed of life, and the masculine is supposed to be around that. It's all in patterns that we've gotten out of sync with. And thy will goes back to being in sync with the nature cycles. why the illness and the things that we're working through is somewhere that got off track. And now we're coming back. And the cool thing about reality, it's like a sphere. Okay? A sphere, try to imagine it's 3D. I'm trying to go more and more with my own perceptions. But let's say it down here, everybody's collected here, right? But as we travel up, we get more and more in the feeling of separation, right? The cool thing about separation and why negative feeds the bringing back together is negative pushes us closer. So it's like we're going through this, and then we crisscross, and we keep going up and up. So the further we get apart, the more negativity we feel, and actually pushes us to heal those things. That's why it's just made up the way it is. So as you're going along, things are getting tighter and tighter, worse and worse for you. Then what it's doing is pushing you to the point where you can change it. So the more negative something gets, all it is trying to get you to let go of that. And one of my analogies to that is if you picked up a poisonous snake, and let's say you're walking with God, and you pick up a poisonous snake. At first, God may just yell at you to drop it, but you're like, I want to play the snake, right? And then the snake bites you, right? Well, then God may hit you to make you drop the snake, right? And that progressively gets worse and worse until finally you let go of the poison that you picked up. Yeah, exactly, and chose to hang on to. Out of ignorance, which is the opposite of intellect. We have to be more and more aware. Aware is number one. And we have hundreds of these templates. I'm just making sure So these templates also affect the physical, biological, and psychological aspects of the body. So every template we have, just like that girl I was talking about with the mother issues, the repercussions of that template, those issues with the mother, the biological repercussions were having to do with allergies. It was based on the template, though. You change the template, the biology can change. That's why I wanted to show you that multiple personality thing is once that template, that projection of reality changes so strongly, the whole physical body can change strongly. And the repercussions, I looked at that word, and it's reaping what you sow. And sow is what you kind of put, the sow comes in lots of different ways. It's what you're broadcasting out into the energy field. Like you sow seed, you're throwing it out, you're broadcasting it out into the field. The energy field that's all around us. So we do reap what we sow. That's plain and simple. But you got to be aware of what you're sowing, what you're throwing out there, because that template is exactly what you're going to experience, plain and simple. And the more you crack that open and get rid of it, the less and less. So maybe the 40% of it's there, so you only have it here, but it's a process. And we're getting to a point where we can address more and more of it on a deeper level. This brought me to, I don't even know if I'm going to get to my class today. Well, I guess this is class, but
I wish you recorded this, actually.
I did record this part.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I actually sleep I don't sleep upside down, but I noticed one day that I sleep like this. I'll cross my leg under, and I was like, that looks like the tarot card thing. So I'm always like, everything's feedback. I go to the extreme, but it's interesting because it always turns out in a crazy little way like that. So I don't really fold my arms behind my back, but I tend to cross my legs like this when I sleep, exactly left leg, right leg. And for some reason, I've done this for a long time, off and on, and something that, how you different times you pick up different things, all of a sudden it pops in my head to go look at what that might mean, because I've seen this tarot card before, but I was all of a sudden very aware that I've done it. I've noticed before, but it wasn't like a slap in my face. It was like this is really weird. I keep catching myself sleeping like this. So, I had pulled the book out probably about 3 months ago, and I didn't get around to reading it until this last week or the week before. I can't remember exactly. But it fits in here with what I want to share. So they go about talking about the colors and what they all mean, and that this is a triangle and the symbology. And this, if you look at the wood, that's actually a Hebrew alphabet. The tarot always mixed in the Hebrew alphabet because actually the tarot cards by themselves are a huge book of knowledge and information encoded in pictures. It's related to Hebrew. It goes way back. Kabbalah, everything. There's an immense amount of information in the tarot cards, and it's put in symbols because when they were burning books and things like that, it had to look like something that was just, benign. So these are cards they're playing with, you know what I mean? But the tarot cards are like, I don't know how many books. You could say a couple of thousand books worth of information just in the tarot cards, hidden. You got to know what you're looking for. Like in the wood here, that's totally made up to be a Hebrew symbol. And there's symbolism in everything, the moon relating to the emotions and on and on. But I want to read you the part here related to where I myself are being more pushed, and I think the group too. And it has to do with willpower, because willpower is the other part of awareness. Remember, we have to be aware first, but then we have to work with our willpower to direct our energy. So I'm going to kind of jump in the middle here. The same idea is represented by the garments of the hangman. His legs are red, color of fire, and his jacket is blue, the color of water. These elements are opposite as light and darkness, as contrary as black and white. Thus, opposition is plainly symbolized by the clothes, as well as the opposites, as well by the position of the figure being upside down, which is opposite to how we all live, right? So really the hangman is one who lives opposite to the world around us, which is where we need to go if we want to get healing. This does not mean outspoken antagonism to others. On the contrary, such a spirit is precisely the way of the world. Such a spirit is precisely the way of the world which occultists endeavor to avoid. Hence, the picture is associated with the letter meme, of which Kabbalists say meme is mute like water, silence. So in other words, sometimes they talked about, Jim, like in that last thing, being in silence actually speaks volumes if your energy is in the right field. It's not just being quiet when you see something happening bad, but being a presence of knowledge without words is actually very powerful. That's what that's saying here. That mem is mute like water. Okay, silence is a reversal of one's way of life, combined with perfect tolerance of the ways of other people, is the method of the practical occultist. So it's like being who you are, not affecting others as long as no one's hurting anyone. In what then does the reversal consist? So what does this mean by him hanging upside down? Primarily in a reversal of thought. So the picture speaks of being in a reverse of your ordinary thought. So if we want to change our lives, change in the health, we got to be thinking opposite to all these templates we have, or we're never going to get anywhere. If we're thinking by these, it's going to be a slow process. We have to start working opposite to that. So when your body's saying you've got this restriction related to carrying a female figure, then you've got to start reprogramming yourself to not have that perception. And the whole process is to get you to what I just said make more sense. So we're going to be covering that in the long run. At first, there may seem to be no practical advantage in this, but just consider. One need only look about him to see most people are sick, that most people are in trouble, that most people cannot get along with themselves or the world. Does it not become evident then that most people are in trouble because they have somehow put their cart before the horse in their practice of life? In this scientific age, we know that everything is an expression of the working of the law of cause and effect. Is it not plain, therefore, that the miseries afflicting most are the result of their negative use of the law? And the law is word. It's your thoughts. It's exactly what you're telling yourself. The law is the word. The word is the law. And whatever you're telling yourself, you're putting incorrect information into the field, you're going to get getting negativity back. And the way to change that is change what you're putting out there. For every moment of a human life is so special, is some special application of the law, and the outcome depends wholly on whether the application be positive or negative. So every part of our life is based on what we're putting out. And what we're getting back, whether it's positive or negative, is based on what we're putting out. Practical psychology shows us the potency of ideas. It demonstrates conclusively the truth that thoughts are the seeds of speech and action, and interpretations are the pattern for the experience. That's all based on those templates. What you're saying is what you're putting out. That what happens to us is what we have selected, whether the selection be conscious and intentional or unconscious and unpremeditated. Thus, in practical psychology, the emphasis upon the importance of a change in view. And this change is no less than a total reversal, not just a little change, because if you whatever you're perceiving, like back to the girl or the woman with the issue with her mother, if you change that a little bit, the issue gets healed a little bit. You have a complete reversal, then that shows up in the body as a complete reversal of the problem. That means the tumor goes away, period, without having to even convince yourself. Every idea we consider in our study of Key 11 points to the central theme of the hangman. This is that every human personality is completely dependent upon the all, here symbolized by the tree. As soon as this truth is realized, the only logical, sensible course of conduct is complete self-surrender. This surrender begins in the mind. And what this surrender is talking about is surrendering these ideas and perceptions that we are holding on to. It's not like we're surrendering into some negative situation. No, the surrender that we're after, the surrendering to thy will is letting go of the will that we're projecting onto the world, which is based on the bullshit crap, the little programming we have, right? So it's not like we submit to all this negative stuff. No, the surrender is we go, okay, this is all crap that I've been projecting onto the world. I surrender that up because I want something better. Because thus far I've created a mess. This surrender begins in the mind, in the submission of the personal consciousness to the direction of the universal mind. That's something larger. You call it God, whatever you're going to call it. That submission is foreshadowed even in the picture of the magician who derives all power from above. Until we know that of ourselves, we can do nothing. We shall never attain to adeptship. The greater the adept, the more complete his personal self-surrender. Paradoxically, this total submission of personal life to life itself makes us intensely positive in relationship to other people and in relationship to the conditions of our environment. Nobody who follows this course ever becomes a human doormat. Consciousness of the support of something transcending mere personal human power always results in a positive mental attitude. So in other words, once you surrender your limiting beliefs to something higher, you realize that your life is guided by that. But you know what? We are creating our life based on what we're projecting. So sometimes not a simple surrender, it can be a little hard, but if you can surrender your beliefs and perceptions, it can be that simple. Not even needing any tapping, no Reiki or anything. If you can be able to surrender one of these templates completely, you're automatically put in the natural flow, the Tao, which is also called the Way. You're naturally putting right into the stream. That simple. If you can let it go completely. And then once you're in that stream, everything is naturally flowing. The health in your body, the meridians, everything. Nobody who follows this, get that. In the face of some of the appearances confronting us as we go through life, we need something more than just our personal energies to carry us through. In order to have courage and persistence in spite of seeming disappointments and difficulties, we must know ourselves to be vehicles of a power to which nothing can be an insurmountable obstacle. In other words, if we realize that we have immense power that can come through us, and to that power nothing is insurmountable, then that means no matter what we have physically within us or outside of our world, anything can be overcome. But those limiting templates say, no, we can't, right? That's what we got to get rid of. Because I don't care, you can try to convince yourself that, but as long as the template's there, you're not going to get past it. It's going to limit in some way.
John, you just said something. When you said the word difficulty, you placed a lot of emphasis on cult. Which a cult could be something that started out really innocent and beautiful, but twisted, it became a cult.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and this isn't my writing. I'm sorry.
Because you said difficult. I mean, it was like.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see where you're going. Yeah, this isn't my writing. It's from the tarot book, but now it's difficult coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a cult has a very specific belief system, and that does get you limited.
Twisted.
Actually, every religion is a cult in some way. We don't typically call Catholics and Protestants a cult, but it has very specific belief systems. There is meetings that you could go that you can make a stretch there. The mental attitude suggests by the hangman then is now my will, not my will, but thy will. And thy will is still an aspect of you, but not the little you. So all these little collective belief systems you have is a collection of your small self.
The ego.
Yeah, exactly. An ego in another term. I personally, I call it the little ego and the big ego because we need an ego. Otherwise, we'd just be lifeless lumps on a log. But there's a little ego that we've collected all these negative ideas of. And if we're projecting out from here, that overcoming like the light bulb, like a paint over a light bulb, the light doesn't shine through. You surrender that, then it automatically flows through. This is ever the position of the adept, as indeed it is the position of every person who works in any field of applied science. It is an attitude born of knowledge that my will is an elusive personal thing, which is but the reflection or mask of thy will, or the real will, which is the purpose or motive of the cosmic life, a will absolutely free. So when we're in the small will and projecting out these ideas like my mom's blah, 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 what happens is we don't have any free will to interact. Because if we're projecting that out into the world, like I never got nurtured, and I'm projecting that onto my husband now, right? Then I'm unable to receive the abundance coming into me from the world because I'm projecting. And it actually limits my ability to make certain choices, because now I've got a certain perception and I'm going to make choices that I'm really not in charge of. So if I'm angry at somebody because of template and I act in a certain way, that doesn't come from free will. Free will comes from having all those out of the way. And free will is basically another way of saying free from programming. And those templates are programs we've accepted in. This thought does not imply that the universal will visits affliction, disease, or poverty upon us. That goes back to the people thinking that, God is making punish us to us. That's not the thing of surrendering to a higher will. I'll read that again. This thought does not imply that the universal will, God if you want, visits affliction, disease, or poverty upon us. It does not mean that we must be resigned to our troubles like dumb beasts, making no complaint when we are beaten. It means that in spite of appearances, the cosmic will works always toward the good, and the universal will, too good, cannot possibly be defeated. It means that personality is known for what it is, a partial expression of the all, and that in consequence our personal notions of what is best for us may often be mistaken, especially if they're coming from the templates. The Templars. So the thing about throwing Templars just popped in my head. That's when our defense system goes up. You're attacking my templates. You're attacking my temple. So then we send out our little Templars, which are our defense mechanisms, right? And we all battle each other over, you said this, and it's a bunch of crap. Thus, so long as we continue to make false interpretations, the laws of the cosmos work out those interpretations in pain-bringing forms.
What?
So long as we make false interpretations or projections onto the world, the laws of the cosmos work out those interpretations in pain-bringing forms. In other words, if we're projecting out negativity, pain comes back to us, plain and simple. Right. And it's saying this is what you and it's saying this is what you're doing. That's all it is. That's why your body is your friend. You got a negative thing about your body? Yeah. Pain bringing.
Oh, bringing.
Bringing forms. In other words, if you're sending out negativity with your mind, you're going to get pain coming back. And that feedback is that, and you can't look at the pain and go, oh, that so-and-so. Yeah. Right. The echo is simply, if you've got a negative thing going out, the echo may be pain because it's negative. But you can't go, oh, that person did that to me. No, you have to go, okay, what the hell inside of me is causing that? That's what I need to get rid of. This knee pain, okay, what is that trying to tell me? I can't sit here and cuss my knee. I can get it cut. It may not get any better, though. I know lots of people get a surgery and they still got a limp. So what the hell is below that? What is below the mirror? What's on my hard drive? That's what you got to get out. Disease teaches us the laws of health. Frictions in human relationships goad us into discovery of the secrets of harmony. And the wise declare that in the mystery of death lies hidden the secret of immortality. Basically, it's saying that the struggle we see with the world is pushing us to be more unified with ourselves, God, universe, whatever you want to call that. Let me go back and read one more part I skipped. Yet pain itself is friendly because it is educative. Simple. You got a pain in your body. Everything is information. From a consciousness level, everything that you perceive is information. It hit me the other day. It's like when I was eating something, it's like, I'm really just eating information. So everything is supported by information. It's pretty awesome little, for me it was. Mm-hmm. They think I'm like cuckoo, but... I
thought that way for eating.
And it is, basically, because that molecule goes into the cell, gives information, and helps that cell survive. Suffering, poverty, disease, inharmony, and death all have their lessons for us. These are the goals that prod the race onward in its stretch for truth. We do not fully understand why this is the method, but we can see that the very fact of manifested existence necessitates temporary limitation. with suffering as an inevitable consequence of such limitation. And again, what I wrote out to the side here is Adjustment Bureau. Adjustment Bureau is showing that exact same thing. We're put into the limitation to make us go beyond it. That's what it's all about. So the limitation comes up in your life, it's telling you something. You take that information, use it inside to change what you're projecting, and then it doesn't hurt anymore. It changes, it opens up. And we have all the power within ourselves. One last part. This actually took a lot longer than I thought. Thoughts like these are the exact reversal of what most people think. That's why the hangman is upside down. But you can also see the hangman, its crown chakra is completely open. It's the glowing. And you can actually say that the hangman represents Jesus or Buddha, because they are actually contrary to everything around them in society at the time. Practice in mind control and body direction, such as are taught by psychologists, occultists, are laughed at by the world. And people who take them serious are jeered as men upside down. Yet, the world's ridicule should be the best evidence that the occultists are right. For the world is sick unto death, writhing in pain, hag-ridden by war, pestilence, and famine. But the wise have found the way to health, of happiness and peace. I thought that was pretty powerful.
So, I know we have a lot to cover, but all the social problems in the world
Are a reflection of our screwed up. Yeah.
So how in the world do we ever start to change that?
The only thing you can change.
Is yourself.
But if you ever, how are you going, okay, so I arrive at this wonderful place where I'm self-actualized or whatever you want to call it. I don't see how we're going to make an impact on the rest of the
The 100th monkey effect is what pops into my mind.
Are y'all aware of the
ripples?
The 100th monkey effect is what pops into my mind.
It's an explanation of critical mass. And critical mass is that we don't just have like small leaps, we have quantum leaps. You know, like there's supposedly a missing link between, you know, this type of being and this being. It's because we jumped from this to something newer, okay? And supposedly 2012 and this whole new age that's coming is going to be a quantum leap into something that we're totally unaware of, okay? And that quantum leap is what you're actually looking for in health. And that quantum leap is a huge consciousness shift in like an aha. And what happens is it happens because there's a collective field around the planet that we're all tied into. And there's like the common beliefs like you have to work really hard to make money. You know, but you see lots of people that don't have that belief system, they're not tapped into that, and their life is different, right? Okay. The thing is you disconnect from that. You're in the world, but not of the world, okay? And the more you tune into positive things, your connection to that begins to feed in positive energy to the whole, okay? That's why Buddhist monks up in the mountains meditating actually affects and holds a place for positivity. If that wasn't there, it would fall apart. So every person's little part feeds and balances the whole thing. You know, it could be that, and how I see it is, I remember when I went to Carlsbad when I was a little kid, and I don't know that they do this anymore, but you went down to this one like restaurant place, or I can't remember exactly, it's still vague in my mind, but this huge opening area, and then they turn out all the lights, okay? And then one person way, way off lights a match. And the longer you watch that, the whole place lights up. So for one person's positive working on themselves to get rid of the crap, not just positive thinking, but really working on demons, fighting those things inside of you, you can think of 10 people being effective in a positive way because the light outweighs the darkness. Plain and simple. If this room was dark and you opened that door with light, it would dispel the darkness. So the benefit of positive, yeah, the benefit. Yes! It burns!
There's also a factor of synchronicity.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't understand a synchronicity example exactly, but I know it exists because I experience it just about every day.
Well, see, and to me, synchronicity is you're experiencing 24/7. You know, what we tend to call synchronicity is, you know, like positive things. But you know what? The negative is synchronistic too. If you can if you can really understand that template you're showing out, everything in your life is synchronistic. Period. Every absolutely thing is synchronistic. If you don't like the syncing, then it's telling you get rid of what you're syncing with, right? Because everything is synchronistic. Everything. So you could look at the wars happening around the world as being synchronistic to some thoughts in my mind, some negativity I'm putting out there some way. I'm feeding that in some way. That's how, you know, Buddha would even say that. is that whatever negativity you're in, you're feeding the negativity as whole. That's why you can't fight the negative with a fighting stance. That's why Gandhi, and the way he tried to change things, was the peaceful way. Because if you fight fire with fire, all it does is make a bigger mess. And you've got to go inside and change yourself only. You've got to be a presence. So, but answering that question for you, Marcia, how can one or yours, Joyce, how can one person make a difference? Is like Gandhi. Change that whole area over there by his one person's actions. That's the power each one of us have. And if each of the people that were aware did that, it would change overnight. It would be the quantum leap where the healing happens, boom, right? But we're in process. We're in these little hop sketch. We're getting bigger with the jumps. I'm seeing in groups, and we're getting bigger in the collective. It's happening more and more, but we're still hopscotching. We're still kind of jumping. But if every person did their part, it would change overnight.
Joyce may be the 100th or the 2000th or whatever that number is that changes for everybody. And you may be that one.
Do you know the 100th monkey story? Do you all know the 100th monkey story? I didn't think some do. So you want to tell it or do you want me to tell it? All right. There was this island of monkeys. It's what I call the 100th monkey theory. And they don't know the exact number. They just use a number to give a frame to it, okay? There's these monkeys, and you can look it up online. It's everywhere. 100th monkey theory. There's this island where they have these monkeys, and there's some scientists studying them. And they go out every day, and they throw sweet potatoes to them, okay? But they get dirty and nasty, and one day, there was a stream there, a monkey went to the stream and washed off his potato and ate it, and was like, wow, this is good. So he started washing his potato every day, his sweet potato. And then another monkey goes, what are you doing over there? So he started wash, or she went over there, started wash. Maybe it was a female that first washed. I should have corrected her. Yeah, I should have flipped for, yeah. The first monkey was female, sorry. But actually that fits because, we were talking not too long ago about the rungs of how spirituality happens, like steps. The masculine, Adam labeled and named everything, right? Put everything in a box. The female comes, stirs things up, and makes things grow up. And then the masculine labels again, boom. And then those are the steps to how we evolve. So the female is actually the initial step of chaos that brings about a higher being. And anyway, so then there was 2 monkeys washing every day, and then some more monkeys caught on, some more monkeys, and then over time, the number is led at 100, but it's hard to say. But as soon as the 100th monkey reached down and washed the potato in that stream, every monkey, let's say there were 500 monkeys on the island, all of a sudden all the monkeys knew, even without seeing, to wash their potato. But it gets even more bizarre, is that every monkey in that species knew around the planet. So that's why you see like they have these spiritual pyramids built in Mexico and Egypt and places that never had every connection, is because it was the collective. So whenever we leap far enough, or enough people in the collective, like 100 of 500, do it, the whole thing, boom, blows into a whole new reality. And that's what we're on the edge of.
It could have been that the monkey saw a record do it.
True. Thank you for making that more complex. But yeah, a raccoon.
Raccoons do it.
The raccoon
probably saw something else. I don't know.
They should call it the 100th raccoon.
No, monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, that's a good one. That'd be the short version of the whole thing. Monkey see, monkey
Bumper
do.
sticker, we get that. There you go. People are like, what?
Okay, so let me get into. Well, I got totally sidetracked today. But to me, it's not sidetracking. It is important because what we're doing here, what I'm sharing in all this, this information I'm giving you, is based on being able to be aware of the templates and changing them so you can do this quicker and quicker and quicker. So I'm going to go ahead and start in the pamphlets here. To hope for change in human life without a change in human nature is an irrational and unspiritual proposition. It is to ask for something unnatural and unreal, an impossible miracle. The tapping points I'm going to go over later, since we're a little tight on time tonight. And I'm going to be sharing a sheet with y'all. Anna and Marlon, I'll be getting the section 2 to y'all. I'll print out only a few. Next time I'm going to print out more of them. I wasn't sure how many were going to show up and how many I needed. But I'll get it to you. Now remember the sheets that you filled out last week as your homework related to the different parts of the body? In this one you have another sheet, and this is related to the physical body. So on like the muscle sheet where you highlighted the muscles, was there anybody can just holler out? Is there one meridian that you had a bunch of muscles related to? Okay, Joyce, what were yours?
Well, hang on. Let me just-
Sure.
You're talking about like the
Yeah, the
transition to small intestine.
Yeah, I love you. That's exactly right.
Stomach more than any.
Okay.
Huh?
Stomach more than any.
Stomach more than you? Okay. Joyce?
Small intestine.
Uh-huh.
You know, small intestine, large intestine.
Okay. Now, spleen.
Always.
So you really, on this one, all these are going to fit, but the one you want to pay attention to is the one you have the most. So Jim said he had stomach most, right? Well, this new sheet you have, you would go to stomach, and you would read what possible issues stomach can give you, which are headache, neck ache, sinus pain, jaw pain, swollen throat, tightness in the chest, stomach digestive problems, gastrointestinal problems, hiatal hernia, that's where the stomach goes up into the diaphragm, not the linguinal hernia, did I say that wrong? Ulcers, pelvis pain, and shin pain. Do you have any of those?
Yeah, a little jaw.
You also have a huge scar on your shin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, so basically, this is showing that the elements not only tie into the muscles, they also tie into. Huh?
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm checking. That's the response I want. That's freaking amazing. So, so yes, so what did you see, Joyce?
Oh well, I'm here in large intestine. Especially, let's see.
Yeah,
Sinus problems,
Mm-hmm.
Forearm pain, tennis elbow, stiffness in index finger, hand pain or weakness. Exactly.
Yeah. So all I'm showing is that's the map. So one template can give you the muscle and give you the physical issues. Am I making sense now? That one template throws in all these things. So if you're a massage therapist or something, and let's say the deltoid's hurting, then there's a lot more going on than the deltoid. It could be the lung issue. It could be the emotion. We're going to go in the emotions next week because it's a long process, and I won't say anything before that because there's so much more there. So this sheet here you can play with tonight or next couple of days. Next week we're going to be watching a movie instead of doing this, just to give everybody a mental break. We're going to be watching a movie called Living Matrix, and it's about healing. We're going to be doing that next Sunday as opposed to doing this class. Yes, Annette?
Okay, so what if you have the symptoms like, say, under liver? Now, what does that mean? Does that mean you have an issue with your liver, or you have something, I don't understand the...
Sure. Okay, what Net was asking about, if you have issues with your liver, in Chinese medicine, it goes back to the organ. Okay, so liver, gallbladder are partners together. And the liver has to do with the chest muscle. The gallbladder is the popliteal, which is behind the knees. You also have the rhomboids, which are in the shoulders. So typically what happens is you can look, what I was trying to do, and y'all missed last week, is that if you go through and do your muscle sheet, and I'll have to print one out for y'all, you go through, that's what you do, our homework was last week. You highlight all the muscles you have an issue with, and then you look at it, you find out what it relates to. Because ultimately, the muscle is reflecting back to an organ. Because the organ is the original issue, not the muscle. Okay? And sometimes the organ isn't the original issue, it's the emotion related to that organ. Does that make sense?
Right, that's what I want to connect.
Okay.
The emotion with the liver.
And that's what we're doing next week, because I'm going to give you a whole new sheet next week, which is all about the emotions in this same format. Does that make sense? Okay? But I want to go slowly. So Annette and Rick, since y'all missed last week, did I have? Oh, sweet. Would you pass this to them? I perfectly have two. This is last week's homework. And you won't have time to do it now, but if you do that and then compare that to what I'm giving you tonight, it'll make more sense. You got to see, I did this in a very particular order so it would make more sense, because we're building together a huge like geometrical view of yourself, and then you can start playing with it. But you got to have certain orders to it. Yeah. Okay. Annette was asking about the time frame. Oh, sweet. I just broke my water. Okay.
Oh no.
It's my rebirth. Okay, Anna asked about the time frame. And in Chinese medicine, you see that one sheet from last week that you don't have. Yeah, you do. And that turn past the muscles. And there's a lengthwise sheet, which is tiny writing. You may need a magnifying glass. Yeah, that one there. You'll find a time frame on there. You'll find the basic meaning to it, related to cervical. The time frame means that meridian is strongest at that time.
Actual time.
Huh?
Like actual time.
Yeah, exactly.
Actual time, yes.
Actual time.
It's
So
the time on the clock of the day.
right. So 1 to 3 a.m. is liver time. So that means liver is strongest then, because actually what liver is doing, there's a whole cool process that happens. 11 at night to 1 a.m., your gallbladder, remember your gallbladder is all around the head? Your gallbladder is downloading everything that you experience, pulling it down into the body's liver. And the liver is the organizer. It goes this out, and you're dreaming and processing the stuff along the way.
Why you should be asleep.
Exactly why you should be asleep at 11 o'clock, which is actually going through cycles. You know, you go to bed when it's dark. Simple as that. So you're doing this processing. It's coming down into your mind. Your liver's like processing it, so then after the gallbladder brings that down, the liver comes on 1 to 3 a.m. It's when it's doing its thing. And then 3 to 5 is lungs, and that's when the lungs are releasing what you really don't need. Now that would be cool, and there's a whole longer process we'll get into deeper. But so the thing about that is our templates prevent proper filing, proper processing, and proper letting go. So what we wind up doing every day is actually you should wake up an entirely clean slate of energy. No templates from the day before. Seriously. That is living free. That's living free will. But we wake up and we filter what we can process, we filter what we store, and what's going to be the next day. You know, we usually, and we're making small increments. Tapping actually, when you get a tapping, that's why it takes 24 hours for a tapping to work, is you're processing through the cycles, all those things. And things change, boom, like that. Like, the cool thing with Joy, she had one like those miraculous thing with her knee thing. She came in, we were just kind of tapping with her knee, and we went on to other things, and her knee hasn't hurt since. So that's one of those miraculous, boom. The aha that she got then was the catalyst to make that change. And it is permanent once you make a huge shift like that, okay? It doesn't keep coming back. It only keeps coming back when you've gotten part of it. You know what I mean? It partially gets better. So there's a whole process that happens. So the time frame, to make a long answer for Anna, is the time period relates to that meridian. So if somebody wakes up at a particular time at the night, that usually means there's a problem moving through that meridian energy very good. And if you do it a couple of nights in a row, you can go to that sheet and go, okay, I keep waking up at 3. What does that mean? Well, 3 is a transition from liver to lungs, which means maybe there's an issue with the liver, maybe there's an issue with the lung. Then you can go to the chart and say, do I have any muscles that relate to that I'm going to have an issue with? Oh, I do. And then next week I'll give you the emotional chart. Then you go to that and go, oh, that's what that means. And boom. You know, it's like reading the Matrix. Neos. That's the intent anyway. Does that make
I have
sense?
a question.
Yeah.
So if someone knows what might, because I've just realized that I think I know, and I think I see the block.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what can you tell me, or will you be addressing if somebody knows subconsciously and then it comes to their awareness,
Mm-hmm.
they know what they need to do, but they just won't do it.
Right.
What is that? Just, staying in that safety zone, staying a victim,
There's
is
lots.
it?
That's a loaded question because there's so many layers to it. We have to peel that apart. But ultimately, the template is not just something we're seeing the world through. The template is tied into us. To me, I can almost see it like the movie The Matrix, right? Remember all those connections that person had? We have all those connections to that template. So what we're able to do biologically, physiological, everything is limited by that template. So if we're viewing that world through the template, and it's affecting not only what we're projecting out, but what we're getting back in our own body, because that projection, because when we project, it just doesn't go out here. It goes down and like a wave through the body. Boom! We're telling the body how to be. So, and then somebody's, and this is the image I get, like somebody's coming to help you get out of that. It's like somebody's like, trying to break that up, and you'll take that as like an attack. Then because your template's like, no, this is what reality's about, because we base reality on what we've programmed into it. And the scary part is that when they start getting broke up, we start freaking out. So that's what so to answer your question, it's the defense mechanisms that are taught that are saying this is how reality is that get freaked out when we challenge that. That's why
you just get to a certain place where it's like, okay, I'm just so ready to be over this.
Yeah, it's good. It's when you get so pissed off.
That's what
that's what I'm saying. The world, God, the world, whatever is going to keep kicking you until you get to the point of like, I'm done with this. Whatever's got to take.
That's why it could be just like that.
That's why it could be like that. You got it.
I got it.
Right.
So. Duh. I know.
No, that's good.
What is it that gets freaked out when it starts changing?
Okay, these templates we live are a part of us. Okay,
yes.
They're actually, you can actually say they're biological functions of us. We're looking through them. So if I come along and you say, like with that girl today, and it's a kind of an interesting process, and I'm growing and learning too. And in order for me to be able to address things in a stronger way, I'm being pushed to change something that I was weak at. I'm being pushed to change a template of mine in order to be able to interact with the templates of others. That's just part of my growth and where I am and how we all play together. Okay. So I'm being pushed to a point where I have to be very forceful, which I've never been completely comfortable with, okay? So like when I was over at the girl's house today, I just like laid into her. I said, because I've told her before, and it's like, and then they go, well, but that's the template, okay? It's like, no, let that go. And sometimes you have to do that, because that thing right there is telling your biology how to react to it. And if you take that example to the cell wall, the cell wall has antennas all over it. It's not the smooth thing you typically see. A cell wall with a bunch of antennas. So if vitamin C comes and docks, the DNA, and it happens like that, the DNA goes, oh, I know what that is. I know how to react. Boom. Okay? We do the exact same thing. We've got this field out here.
Like we have all these little warriors fighting for us.
Exactly. Right. So we have all these antennas and templates. So somebody comes along and I go, oh, that's my mother. I know how to react. Boom. And then my reaction. So we have to get past those reactions. So it's like the micro, this is just coming to me, it's like the macrophage, it's like the white blood cells that actually envelops the entire thing to get rid of it. So yeah, that's something I have to process there. That's kind
yeah.
Anyway,
that makes sense too.
Yeah. Okay, so now my brain's going off on that. Bring me back on. Okay, so
that's good.
But that's what's happening, and that's why you see in tapping why like you'll see somebody will be saying something and they'll be saying it really easy, and all of a sudden they'll stumble over their words. That's like it's hitting that thing. Or somebody will get defensive. Actually, I'm looking for that more and more. Because if somebody's, during the tapping, is getting emotionally crying or angry, that's when you're getting somewhere. If somebody's just saying the words and not getting too deeply into it, they're doing the surface. I want your emotions there. So I have to get to the point where I can push you to that point. And that's where I'm getting. And why I'm being more and more forceful the way I speak. Because I have to push you to that point to break it. And the thing is, I had to get comfortable pushing myself there. so that's the crazy thing. Huh?
You have to become Barbara Walters.
Yeah. You know, when I first started watching or listening to Carolyn Meese, which was like way back when, I thought she was a ballsy bitch. Period. Right? I was like, how does she do anything? How's she going to be spiritual? And I get it now, because she needed to slap some people awake, and that's where I'm. And I had a charge on that because that's exactly what I needed. Right?
Why you didn't like her?
Yeah. But Carolyn Meese was always in somebody's face and saying, like, I remember I saw this video one time and she's talking to him, and of course body language is a lot. And she would sit across from people, and so this person's exposing their soul, right? And Carolyn Meese starts talking to her and things like, and the girl does this, and Carolyn says, "Hey, don't cover up your solar plexus. Let me talk to you." I was like, "Whoa, she's mean." But that's exactly what she had to do to get through to that girl, because that was the template. That was the protection of the solar plexus, and you have to be able to push past that and be ballsy enough to do that. And that's where my path kind of taking me now there. But now we've got lots of tangents tonight. But it's good. It's good. Any more questions on that? So this is another level. Next week we're throwing in the emotions, and I won't do all the talking up front, but for some reason it came into me and I didn't read to do that tonight.
The week after.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes. The week after, because next week is the Living Matrix. And we're probably going to do a little bit more of this, a little bit of more recap, because I can't hit everything tonight. And luckily this is a short section. So now you've got a sheet that shows you physical issues, like Annette and Rick. When you go home and do the little muscles and the teeth and everything, you then go to that big chart and you kind of highlight everything that has an issue with. And then from there you look at the element, fire, earth, metal, water, that you have the biggest issue with. And then you can go here and find your physical problems. And they should correlate, because that's just the way reality works. And then from there, next week we'll have the emotions, which, because I'm trying to go backwards, okay? We can just go, here's your emotion, and then make out what it is. But since I want to see I want you to see what's on the screen first, and then we go down into the workings of it. So that's why we're doing it backwards. And why I want to see your muscles. Now you see the physical problems. Now you see the emotional. Now you see the consciousness behind it. That's where we're going from the outside in instead of the inside out. Because we can just say that's what the problem is, but I want you to see the whole picture. Because once you start seeing the whole picture, then you can start interacting with it more and more.
It'll make sense when we're tapping too.
Yes,
So
exactly.
what you're saying.
Right. Because when I'm tapping, I'm seeing like I'm not seeing just one aspect. I'm seeing the whole. That's why I'm all looking off in weird directions. I'm looking at this whole perception, like this, like the lady with the allergy to the dairy and the sugar. It's not about that. It's about another level here with her mother that felt abandoned. She was never. It's the whole thing. And if you don't address the whole thing, like a Rubik's cube. I sucked at solving Rubik's Cube when I was a kid, because I'd solve one side and you turn it around. Oh, all the others. The best I could do is I could get two sides, right?
Right.
But to me, that's kind of a cool thing, because you need to solve all those sides for that to disappear, for it to be nullified.
But that says a lot about you if you're patient or whatever. Some people will dumb bottom and
Yeah.
done, or the other people like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like,
I knew somebody that took the stickers off.
Yeah. That would be me. Because I'm patient, but it's like, I know I'm not going to get it,
Yeah.
you know. So.
John,
Yeah.
can you help me visualize it? I'm here, I'm sending out something, and I'm sending it out through a template, is that right? Or the template?
Everything's an analogy. It's hard for me to tell you exactly,
I
but
just want to kind of picture something.
Right.
Like a stencil. When we were learning to make letters and things, we had a stencil.
yeah. You need to read you know what the stencils are?
Yeah. Okay, so we send something out, it comes back.
Right.
What is it that starts breaking up the template? You were talking
You have to
about
be aware of it first, and you're aware. And why do you become aware of it? Minus everything. If nobody's
Because it hurts.
right, pain is the conflict. Pain is the conflict that shows you got a problem. So anything negative is actually the feedback that there's a problem, right? Otherwise, if it's flowing, there's no need to change it. So the negativity you experience in life is telling you that you're projecting something out. What you're experiencing negatively, whether it's a physical problem, which has tons of information, which we're going to be going in, or you don't have a job, you need money, that's all information, and it's all going back to the consciousness or telling you what you're projecting out.
Okay, but our awareness is what starts breaking.
Exactly.
Up.
Number one, you have to be aware. If you're not aware, the average person out there, I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to put that into reality. There's a lot of people out there that are unaware of what's happening. Okay. So what they do is they go through life, and what do? They blame life around them. But you know what? They're projecting that out. Okay? So the first thing that has to come is awareness back to me, not the world. Number one, that's Buddha. That's all Buddha came in to teach. Buddha came in. Buddha was here before Christ. Buddha was about being aware of your thoughts. That's what meditation is. I'm aware of my thought. I'm not projecting anything out. Jesus came in, and Jesus brought in the heart and the physical body. He transcended the physical body through the heart. So it's the awareness that you're aware of what you're projecting out. Then you can change what you're projecting out and embody in your heart a new being.
Okay, and the template starts breaking up, but where does the freaking out? Where is that?
Oh, the freaking out. That's when somebody's trying to break a template up from you or take something negative from you. We'll fight for our negative belief systems. Okay.
The earth is flat, they could fight about that.
When somebody points something out to you that you don't want to hear.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a good. If you're not open to something, that's a good. Not always, because everything's not written in stone. But when you're fighting something outside, somebody...
That's the freaking out part.
That's the freaking out. Because typically those templates are belief systems. That's all they are. They're perceptions and belief systems you're projecting out. So if you believe that God is punishing you and this illness is strictly because God wants you to go through this and experience this in life, and I start telling you that you could actually heal from that, it's going to make you a little upset because you've based your whole life and experience on that being the truth, right? And that's going to piss you off a little bit. And you're going to... And sometimes people just aren't willing to get past that. And to me, pearls to swine, unfortunately, you have to sometimes let those people go.
It's like the tarot card, the tower. It's like it
stirs everything up.
Just being crumbled to the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no, it's like there's nothing to stand on. You can't, you didn't have a foundation, a good foundation with that to stand on, and so it's falling away from you, and it's like the whole world feels like it's falling apart.
And that's a good point, because that's what we're fighting against. Because what we build the world on, how we live our life, is based on what? Beliefs. If you believe a certain way, don't you try to live that way? If you believe in God, you try to live that way, right? So how you're trying to live your life, like Marty said, is on the foundation of your belief. If somebody comes along and starts shaking that belief up, it starts shaking your house around. And you're like, I really don't like that feeling. Because it's challenging, basically, your foundation of reality. And my growth has been going through a lot of that. I mean, I went through a year's period, and a lot of y'all were with me through that period, where I was like, man, what am I doing? Is this right? And I was getting rid of some deep template that I had that had a very, very strong projection into reality. And that template was being broken up. I was working on myself to do it, and people were beating me up the head to help me do that process. But I had to go through that to be enabled to in order to be able to help other people to do the same thing. If you've got a template, it's hard to help somebody else with the same template. It just doesn't work because you're stuck in the same freaking pattern. Now, you typically get drawn together, and it works like that, but you can't necessarily help each other. So it's like a bunch of people coming into group together to talk about a problem, but never getting any fucking better because you're stuck all in the same template. Oh, look at our template. Oh, well.
I have a good picture of this. But tell me again, where does the personality fit into this picture?
Okay, give me your definition of personality.
Well, the thought that came to me via your method of breaking words down was personal, I, tie.
Oh, okay. So your ties to yourself, to me, to me, well, you know what happens when you hang out in somebody's field, you know, everybody in the group now has all the word thing, right? So once you get implanted with that vibration, you're right, you start doing it automatically. That's a cool thing. So everybody in the group now does the word thing, which is awesome because I was saying things, now I'm getting all kinds of new things that I'm not getting, you know. So where does the personality fit in? The personality that we think is us is really a lot of our templates. That's the other part that makes it hard, because who we think we are a lot of these templates. But it's not who we are. It's the falsity that we bought into. So so this makes it even stronger that Marty was talking about that the foundation being shaken. It's who you think you are is being shaken too, to the point that you think you're being attacked. And that's the part I was having a problem with. Is I was having a problem being able to attack someone's foundation without and being worried that they would be taking me as me attacking them. But now I'm starting to transcend that, where when I attack that foundation, you can be okay and think I'm attacking you. I'm okay with that now. I'm going to have to do that. But
you have a firmer foundation on that.
Yeah, I have a firmer foundation on that. But basically, I have to be okay with stirring up your foundation, you possibly getting mad at me, which I wasn't comfortable with before, because when I shake your foundation, that's when defenses turn on. That's because when you start shaking the foundation of who you think you are and what you think reality is, that's when all those defenses start coming to the surface, and that's the stuff we have to slaughter, period. You know, it says that Buddha is a mother and a murderer. Buddha is there to nurture you, but he murders what keeps you stuck where you are. What keeps you stuck where you are is the small little personality.
What keeps us from allowing you to nurture us? You know,
right? It's one of those loops that get us you know, like hamsters. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that goal. You know, no, you're gonna stuck where you are. You know, so
The Rubik's Cube will be
Yeah. If you come along and shove somebody out of that pattern, their automatic instinct is to fight like a tiger in some instances. But you know what? I'm cool with that because I'm excited about that, because now I'm ready to go to the next level where people do start getting more emotional and burning those things up, because it's the emotions that are stuck up in the templates. Energy and motion is what emotion is about. It needs to move. We have a bunch of emotion. It's like a good example, Marty brought that good example of the tower. It's like concrete. We've got these emotions solidified, boom, into the body.
It's a pickaxe.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we got to go to the doctor. That's why we go to and that's why we got to go to the doctor to cut the bone or whatever, because it's become like concrete. But the cool thing about it is that quantum mechanics is the concrete can melt if you're ready for it. If you're ready to go past it, you don't have to go and chip it to pieces with a pickaxe. You just chip it to pieces with consciousness and awareness. Therefore, you change it here, you don't have to beat the hell out of it here. Because the thing about that is, you get your shoulder worked on, right? But if you didn't get rid of the foundation, it's going to rebuild the exact same damn thing. And you're going to get the shoulder coming back, maybe now worse. Now it's like, now I'm going to, yeah. So, but the beneath that is the foundation has to change. And we've concreted that foundation with our belief systems because it helps us survive in the world. If we have a particular physical issue, God wants me to go through this. So that makes you feel comfortable with what you have, right? So now that belief system is like concrete. And when somebody challenges that and says, no, God didn't want you to experience that, you can be changed. And you're like, no. I've invested my entire life into this. It can't be that. It can't be that because I haven't lived for 12 years or 20 years. You're like, no, I don't want to see that. What?
I said 50, she said 60.
So you're like, no, I don't want to see that. And if I stop there, then you don't get to see it. So I have to come along with a jackhammer and hit you upside the head. So
a realization that I had this past week is I kind of kick myself for feeling like I'm always starting over. And then I had this realization this week that yes, I'm starting over, because I kind of have, I liken my spiritual journey to the butterfly coming out of the cocoon.
Yeah.
I'm in the cocoon and I'm processing and learning and everything, and then I come out and I have to start over.
Yeah.
And so when I reach that level, then I go back in my cocoon and I process new stuff, and it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
The starting over is the natural process.
Yeah, and it's exactly.
But I just kept feeling like I was staying back and not progressing.
No, you're always
but
moving.
It's actually a progression.
That's a great way.
And I was just like, oh my gosh.
So here's the crystallization, and you boom. So it's another example of that. So you're always going forward.
Yeah.
And and Nassim talked about there was never just one big bang. But what does he say about the big bang? It's happening continually all the time, right? So that process, that rebirth, that boom, boom, boom is happening all the time. It never stops. Creation is not complete in and of itself. If God said create everything and everything is good, it's done, then there would be no movement, right? It's continually evolving and growing as we are. Right. And we go through these periods of, I feel this, but then there's the turmoil, but you're always moving up. So it's a good realization to have, because it can be frustrating.
I know. I was just like, why can't I get any further down than It's like, but I am.
Yeah.
Just
and even if it's just 2 inches, so to speak, in your journey, at least it's 2 inches, because 2 inches can give you an entire different view. Like, say, here's a huge forest here, and I think I want to go here, but what God has in plan for me is here. 2 inches may just take me enough to where I can see enough down this way that, hey, I'll actually want to change directions, right?
Yeah.
So. And all those blinders are us. All those trees in the way are us.
Exactly.
That we planted, or we had planted in our soul. So chainsaw and pickaxe. That's what we need to. Yes, Charlie.
As far as the tapping, if you look your stuff up and you see which organ you want to tap on, do you want to tap that when the organ is the strongest?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Or does it matter? Will you get a greater benefit? Or
in some cases, it's better to tap it when it's the strongest. Yeah. Because what that means, lung time is 3 to 5 a.m. So that means the lungs are the strongest. But people, if they have an asthma issue, that'd be ideal if they could do that. And typically, they may even wake up at that time. So if you wake up at a particular time, your minds will tap that meridian to see what, because if you wake up, it's telling you there's a disturbance there. Minus if it's a thunderstorm like last night at 3-ish. But that could have been a global clearing too, I don't know. Or at least, around this area. But yeah, you can tap at that time. But in some cases, it's going to be at nighttime. And if that's the case, then you can do the opposite. So instead of doing, say, liver is 1 to 3 a.m., you can do 1 to 3 p.m. And you're getting it to, because those things work together, the opposite.
Sure.
So
do you get a greater benefit if you do it one that's the strongest, or does it matter?
It depends. Sometimes it depends. If you've got a really strong organ issue, it does help it. Okay. If it's really a strong emotional issue, typically just tapping in general helps move that. Because the more physical an issue is, I don't even want to say that part, but sometimes, use my words properly, sometimes the more physical an issue is, the more you need to address it from the physical level. So the time frame would help. Okay, but not always.
Does that mean that she wants to set her alarm to get up and do it?
If you're drawn to, yeah. If it's a physical, yeah, you might as well try. And
you
what
can't tap at any point in
you
time.
can you can tap at
It will help.
Yes.
It's clear during the time that it is most active.
Yeah, to answer that question, yes. Anytime you tap, you're moving stuff. This is what I recommend, is when you have an issue, you want to tap on it at least 7 days. Because you're going to hit it in different time periods, and you're going to hit yourself in different moods, because no one's ever in the same mood for 7 straight days, right?
Right.
So and if you're tapping on an emotional issue, you can tap when you're in the emotional issue or when you're neutral, and you're going to get a different effect. And there's this thing about 7 times 3 is 21, and it's saying in 21 days you actually have a neurological rewire. So what I'm beginning to play with, and I'm going to start talking about in the next tapping group, which is Thursday, is when we have an issue, this is just something that came to me, is you tap on the real negative aspects of the issue, like, even though I'm angry at my mom, I accept myself. And then the other 14 days, so you have 7, 7, 7. Okay, so 7 days you tap on the negativity, and this may change, things are always changing for me. But then, after you've tapped on the negative, then you change in, if you really want to get rid of something, you got to keep on it. That template, you crack it. You may just crack it the first couple of times. You want to keep hitting the hell out of it until you break it up. And that's the spiritual warrior. You got to be able to face the crap and really be serious about getting it, not just half-ass doing it. So you tap on the real negative issue, and then I recommend you come in with the positive. Like, even though I'm angry at my mom, then you tap on 7 or 14 more days. Then you just tap on the positive like it's an affirmation. So you acknowledge all the negativity for a couple of days, really hit it, and then you start reprogramming the whole thing. Does that make sense? So although I'm angry at my mom because she never nurtured me, that type of thing, then after that you might add in, I see that my mom did the best I could and I choose to forgive her. That's what you really want to get to. Okay?
And then you do this how many times a day? Or
at least once. You could do more. When I first got into the whole EFT, which I kind of changed the format of it, I was tapping a lot of the time. And that's I really think what got me to the point where I'd be in front of people and speaking is me tapping a bunch of my stuff. So, and I really love the tapping because if consciousness is the basis of everything, while we're tapping, especially what we're doing in group, you get to see what consciousness is below there, right? It's not just you're addressing the physical issue. Anytime we tapped on something physical, and it always turns around and comes back to what's really underneath it. That's the thing you got to get rid of, because as soon as you really change the hard drive, then what shows up here changes. If you've got a virus, which all these negative programs are like virus templates, if you've got a virus on your computer, what shows up on the screen is never going to, that virus is going to keep showing up until you get it off your hard drive, right? That's what the tapping does. It's getting rid of that. You're like working with that. Okay, how do I get rid of this? Tapping the keyboard to get rid of that virus. Otherwise, it's going to keep affecting your physical body.
So doing it for 21 days would be like 7 days tapping it out of your physical body, 7 days tapping it out of your emotional body, and 7 days tapping it out of your spiritual body.
Yeah, you can. There's another way to do that. We can talk about that in the group. We're going to have a little more conversation in the Thursdays group, and play with. That's a good idea too. My idea was like you kind of bring up the negative stuff, then you start focusing on the positive towards the end. Because usually how we do the tapping is you say the negative and you acknowledge, like, I accept myself. But why not start doing the programming that you want? Like, I choose to see my mom did the best she could. her parents screwed her up, or I wouldn't put that in. My mom did the best she could. I've always tried to bring in a bigger picture, but I don't need to at this point. My mom did the best she could, and I choose to forgive her. And
So
it's
what
I
did
choose.
you call that?
Huh?
What did you call that?
That'd be like the reprogramming, the positive programming. So you're acknowledging the negative, but then you really want to start putting in the positive, because ideally that's what you want. So when I was talking to that lady today, I was like, you've got to let go of that. If you want your physical body to start being able to completely accept nutrition from Mother Earth, then you've got to get rid of your issues about the nurturing you think you didn't receive from your mom. Period.
So it's the breaking down and destroying old belief and recreating something new, more beautiful that we want to experience.
Exactly. There's a couple layers. You can just totally annihilate the template to where you're neutral, or you could put in a new positive thing too. I mean, you can create positive templates to see the world with. I mean, my mom gave me, I had a lot of negative programming from both, as we all do. But my mom did give me one nice template, which was always telling me I could do anything that I set my mind to. So that was a freaking godsend, because that template saves my life a lot, right? Because that template pops up, and it works for me. So you can make your own template, but you gotta work to program it though, because usually you've got a bunch of templates telling you the opposite. You know what I mean? What are you gonna say, Mary Ellen?
Is self-forgiveness, in your opinion, more difficult than forgiving someone else?
It's equally as difficult. It's hard to say. For me, it's probably more difficult to forgive myself. I think across the board, we tend to have an issue of forgiving ourselves than others. But it's good that you bring up forgiveness, because that is ultimately what releases a template. Is whoever put that there. Usually, sometimes they're hard earned. School of hard knocks. Had an alcoholic abusive. That's not me, but I had an alcoholic abusive father, and now I'm afraid of men, and I'm afraid of getting in a relationship. Right? Well, you're going to have to work through that, and ultimately it comes from getting rid of all the charges there, which means the ultimate charge was with the father, right? And if you release that, there's nothing there more, and then you can experience men or women or whatever the charge is in a neutral way, because ideally you don't have any negative or positive templates at all. It's just simply you're flowing with the stream of life, and you act as you are in the moment, period. And the more we all do that, then everything heals itself. Right now, you got a template, I got a template. Oh, we come together because they work like a magnet. Negative, positive in a certain way. Like, I feel vulnerable and feel like I'm always being used. I'm an abuser. Wow, great. Yeah. But that's how it all works. It's that magnetic soup, because what it does is it pushes the issues for this person to get, and that perfectly pushes the person. But what happens, especially in the past, is that we tend to look at the other person as being the main cause of that, not realizing that, we magnetize them to us.
We're pulling it
right.
So we can get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then if you look at it that way, then whatever happens bad in your life, it's like, thank you. I'm getting rid of something. Like I remember reading about some Buddhist monks, and they always rejoiced in negative things happening. I didn't get it at the time when I read it, which was over 10 years ago. Now I get it though. They rejoiced in negative things happening because they were actually clearing something. If you can look at it that way, it helps you get through it. Because whatever negative shows up, it's trying to show you where you're stuck. And if you use it that way and not blame the other, but at the same time you're not allowing yourself in a negative situation. It's hard to see someone like in an abusive relationship, but they're in that because there's a charge there. And that's that thing where they're stuck, right? Going back to people, like say they're in an abusive relationship and you're like, that's the template they're working from, and you want to go up and help them. It's like that's when you start shaking that template and foundation. You're like, wow, they're getting mad at me and I'm trying to help them, right? It's because you set off their defense system. Even if it's a horribly negative situation, you're attacking them in their mind's eye. You're attacking what their beliefs are. And it's sometimes hard in those situations. But but what happens, like back to what you said, Mary Ellen, the awareness is the first key to that. Because life is going to keep kicking you until you get to a certain amount of awareness where you start asking for help. That's the key. Because you can't go out there, and I went through this phase, I have something to tell you. When I didn't have things perfect myself, I have something to tell you. Yeah, I'm not living it exactly myself, but I have it for you. But anyway, So the thing is you can only help the ones that are willing to open up and ask for it. That means they've been beat around long enough to be ready for it. And you can't go out there and give this to anybody. That's the downside to it. And I say it's a downside. It was a hard awakening for me because you want to save everybody. But to me, I now see that it perfectly works together. Maybe they need a little more kicking. And it's unfortunate, but that brings them to the point. That's that negativity that brings back to positive. It's always this and then this. It'll never stop. So no matter whatever happens to that soul or individual, they'll eventually come back around. Maybe I'll be part of that, maybe I won't. But it's not my deal. I just have to do the thing I'm doing at the moment.
Sometimes we can plant seeds. And
Yeah,
we never
seeds,
see
yeah.
it grow. But others may come along and water it. And
True. So yeah, you don't stop doing action. Like you see somebody hurting, don't like, okay, that person was really drawn to that. That's crazy too. so if you see a child being abused, and I know anybody in this group will not do that. That's bullcrap, right? So you do, because maybe that's you needing to learn something too in that moment. You know what I mean? You act. So there is action that still needs to be taken. Yeah, I'm sorry, Annette.
Tonight, while you're talking about everything, I picked up on something. I've been having trouble with allergies the last few months, and I keep reflecting on why. Because I believe in healing and so forth and so on. And tonight here in the meeting, it just kind of clicked to me. It was always my focal point of the attention and love and extra things I got from my parents. I was always the asthmatic kid or the kid with the allergies or whatever. Yeah. But because of that,
you got attention.
Special treatment.
Right.
I got taken out and bought
Yeah.
presents.
Yeah.
It hit me tonight like a ton of bricks.
I was like, I had the same kind of thing where it's like, why would I want to hang on to that? And I can't really see any positive really from mine. But I mean, I'll dig more around, but it's like, why would, I know what I need to do. Why would I not do it? Knowing that's really, but it just came to me tonight, it's like, that's really that's the belief. My belief system of, it just came to me. That's what's going to heal me. I've not had it before, but it's like, why would I hang on to it? I've known it subconsciously.
Usually, it's hard to think about it. Usually we get something, even in the negative realm, like anger. We might not think, and I'm not saying this is you at all, Marty. I'm saying in general, using this as an example, is anger actually feeds you. There's a feeling that comes from anger. It's like, you start, it's like going through the whole Darth Vader thing, right? Yeah. It's like that anger makes you feel powerful. It makes you feel justified in doing certain acts. You know what I mean? So sometimes you may think, what the hell am I getting this? You're getting, that anger's feeding you. It's like giving you a power, and you feel whatever. The downside to that is it's causing lots of other things to happen in your body. Because anger actually makes your heart beat faster. It makes your and when you get angry, what happens typically is the blood goes to the extremities and goes away from vital organs. Because anger usually deals with survival, right? So you got to have all your blood going to your limbs. You got to be able to run like a gazelle and not care about your heart if it explodes, because you're trying to just get away, right? So all the vital organs here don't get fed, and over time they just crap out. So.
That movie I Am, the documentary, has something on anger. It's pretty neat. It's like the positive affirmation. They put a blob of yogurt out there, and they put these electrodes in there. It's yogurt, it's live active enzymes. And they had the dude sitting there, and this was guy making the movie. Is like, now come up with emotion, something bad. And it's like, what about your lawyer? They start talking about his lawyer, and that little meter went boing, and it was just in there on the friggin' yogurt. Oh yeah, and it was just because of anger. It evoked his anger, and it went, projected into the yogurt. That's how your consciousness.
Well, they do the same thing with plants.
Well, everything is living. I mean, even this wood. I mean, think about it. When you have something wood, when a piece of wood is really dead, doesn't it just kind of start falling apart, right? Right? So this piece of wood is not completely dead. There's life still in it. So the vibrations I'm putting out, just the good example Jim gave, the vibrations I'm putting out is being absorbed by freaking everything. The dog, your spouse, your children, your car, your motor, your computer. I know people whose computer crap out all the time. Because I have to look for this paper. I have to look for this article. But how your energy interacts with the computer is how long your computer lasts, the function of it, everything is based on your energy feedback, because it's a living thing. It's even got crystals in it. So everything reacting to you. And it may sound a little cuckoo, but I just
No,
know
man,
it's just the way it
makes a lot of
works.
sense.
Well,
Wow.
we didn't get through today, so we are going to redo this class, okay? I still want you to go ahead and do your homework and be ahead of it. And Anna, I'll actually email you this stuff so you can print out and have the form. And we'll go over this again so you don't really miss the sheets. You got the homework, though.
Do you
we have
want,
two of these.
we've got two, we could share, like, I could put mine on one side and the other, they can have one of ours.
Oh, the homework? Oh, that gave them
Yeah.
homework. I didn't have the section 2. So how I was doing this is if this is the way I guess we can do a show of hands. If you're going to continue coming, I'll keep printing it out for you. So what I did is I only printed out whoever told me it was coming, so I had a limited amount. So you can let me know by email. Just let me know by email, because if I take it now, it'll be just email me if you're going to come. Now next week we're not going to do the actual homework. We're going to do the movie Living Matrix, which anybody's still welcome to come to. Okay. The next week following that, we're going to go over this information that we didn't go in too deep. We hit it, but not as deep as I want to hit it.
I myself feel like I've integrated a whole lot of stuff that's been around me in my field for a long time, but it's like it's really integrated.
And that's why we got to go over it. And now I was drawn to share this, so obviously it had a purpose.
Well, it was a super class, Joe.
Yeah,
It was
super.
awesome. Yeah.
Can I ask one more question?